for hopping on today, Nika. With the Caring Cells Project, we have wanted to start doing some interviews with people who either they work with sickle cell or they have lived with sickle cell. So obviously, I don't have sickle cell, so talking to someone who has it is really important for our mission and our project to be able to that we're doing the right outreach. So thank you again so much for hopping on this call. So to start out, we just kind of wanted to ask you about like your experience living with sickle cell. We like to focus on youth, so like you were young, you were like a well, you're still young, but like you were like a kid at some point. Can you kind of talk about your experience with that?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I did have a lot of pain crises. Growing up, I do remember just like waking up in the middle of the night just in pain. And I'll go to my parents' house and just be yelling and crying in pain. And one thing I'm very like in a spiritual. So my mom, she will always like pray together and asking God to get rid of the pain. So we would just always say, Jesus, I love you over and over and over. At that time, I didn't really know, like I wasn't really walking with the Lord at that time, but it definitely helped me shape to where I'm at now. Just really including God into like my pain crisis and sickle cell pain crisis and everything. So it was very challenging growing up. But one thing I'll also say is I wasn't in the hospital as much as other people who do have sickle cell. That's something I am blessed with. As I've gotten older, the pain crisis have gotten less after I would say college. So it was bad when I was like really young, like middle school, high school. But as I got into like college, it got in less. And even when I was young, I remember my doctor would say, "You're still blessed because I'm still not in a hospital as much as other kids with sickle cell." So that's something, at that time I still was like, this pain is still a lot, it's still, still sad about my whole situation dealing with sickle cell. But I think as I've gotten older, I can truly say like I am blessed and I am not in the hospital as others. So that was a little bit of my experience dealing with sickle cell.
Yeah, and I think that also brings a really good point that people don't deal with sickle cell crises the same. Not everybody has the same level of pain. Some people have it more severe or less. So I think that's really good to kind of bring in there, but that's
Mhm.
it gives a really good perspective for sure. So, during these sickle cell crises now or when you were a kid, what gives or gave you comfort, during these times?
Yes. So I'll go back to again with prayer. I know a lot of people, that's just my story, which being walking with God is that's something that really helped me then and now. And also just being around friends helped me when I was going to the hospital. At one point I wasn't telling my friends that I was in the hospital. And I guess I was just maybe I think I was just I don't know what it was. I just didn't want them to see me at my lowest, so I wouldn't tell them that I am at the hospital. So when I started to tell them during like my college experience, them coming to see me in the hospital like really helped me and made me laugh and and just they would just do silly stuff during that time and it just helped me to not think about the pain. So that's something that really helped, and I just regret not doing that sooner. So other things would be like, making sure I drink water during that time and asking for help if I really, really need it, and playing worship music during that time, and just yeah, like it's a lot with my faith and just trusting in God that, to take the pain away and just being around family and friends.
Hmm. And we're caring cells, we're not very religious based, but do you think that your faith and your spirituality, that's been a big part for you to kind of get through some of those things?
Yeah, as of yeah, it has been really a big part of me.
Hmm.
Especially like right now, the moment it's very big right now. And especially I guess when I was younger, I would say I would lean more on my friends and lean more on just trying to do activities that will, help me to get not activity, but things that I like to do that help me to not think about the pain. So like watching TV, talking to a friend. That's something that I was doing when I was younger as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. So, what do you advocate for or want to advocate for to raise awareness about sickle cell disease?
Yeah, so it goes back to pain. I know some people may think that people with sickle cell, their pain, like they're exaggerating with their pain, and that is not the case. Like having sickle cell is very painful, and it's also it comes unexpectedly. So I can be good in one moment and be not good like in the next 5 minutes. So
Hmm.
that's something that that's one misconception. Like they like don't really take my pain crisis, pain level serious, especially going to the hospital as well. I haven't really experienced um like the doctor not taking my pain level seriously as other people that I've been hearing. But that's something that I've been seeing a lot in the nurses and the doctors and in the healthcare field that they don't take those sickle cell patients' pain levels serious. Like it's very painful if they're yelling and screaming. It's it's the pain is really high. So it's yeah, that's something that's just one misconception.
Hmm. Yeah. And we know you from Chica. Do you go to the like at UIC, the hospital there for European crises, or do you not live in that area?
Yeah, when I was younger, I went to they call it Laurie Children's Hospital. So I had a great experience there.
Hmm.
Like every time I go to the ER, I just never had a bad experience until I went to a rural school for college. That
Mm.
is where it
That's
switched.
where it got a little dicey.
Yeah, it went dicey. I was like, oh, so I see the difference between going to the hospital in rural area versus the city and urban area. So I had a really good care and I had a really good hematologist also. I still talk to up to today. As when I was younger, I still talk to him and he's been really good as well.
Hmm. And I think that for us, at least, it's like we don't live in Chicago. We live in Bloomington, Illinois, Central Illinois. So
Yeah.
I know that we don't have those types of resources, at least in our town. So that
Yeah.
is a really good, thing to think about. Like,
Right.
your experience, living when you went to the bigger hospital could be way different than someone who may be dealing with it who lives in Central Illinois, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I experienced both and I was like, oh wow.
You're like, oh my gosh, it's way
Yeah.
different.
So
Yeah.
different.
So, going on with kind of what doctors think and your experience with that, what do you think one misconception about living with sickle cell, that you think people or doctors believe? Like, what do you think of, there's like are there any misconceptions about that for people or doctors or anything like that?
That they don't believe.
That they do or they don't believe. Like maybe something that happens but they like don't know it, or something that they believe but isn't true, like anything along those lines.
Yeah, I think so I think it goes back to the like over exaggerating like they think that our pain level is not as high as we tell them, and that's really it's not really true because it really is painful. And another thing that I would say is I think going back to like mental health as well. That's something I am trying to, because it's a new topic. So I'm trying to really understand having sickle cell with mental health. Like it's a lot that we have to think about. We can't we have to bring a jacket when we go outside just in case it gets cold. Like it's just all
Right.
those process that we have to go through. Like I can't swim in water for like cold water for a long time. So there's just all these things that I have to not do or think about so I won't get a pain crisis. So there's just a lot of things that they may think like, oh, she's not that sick, but yes, I am very sick. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, especially, thinking about like the mental health aspect of it. I think just for like people who have like illnesses or in the in and out of the hospital in general, I think that's not something a lot of people think about, that's not a factor that people really look at.
Yeah,
And so I think that is just as big a part of like not even just not just spreading awareness, not just getting care, but making sure that, you're paying attention to that. Because
right.
especially even in like the African American community, I know there, just with that alone, there are those disparities, there are those, it's not thought about enough. So I like that you kind of brought that up because that
Yeah.
is a something that we need to talk about, something that we need to
Yeah.
look more into. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so I just have one more question for you, and that is, what is something people don't usually think about regarding sickle cell disease? So this is pretty open-ended, like what do you think?
Yeah. So I know like the your caring project is for the youth, right? So I guess I'm gonna talk about a little bit like what my experience is. I am leaning towards to like like finding a partner in marriage. So one thing I would say is it's important to really when you're dating and stuff. I know when I was younger, I didn't really ask these questions, but ask your partner what their genotype is and act it really early. So that's something that, people don't really think about or really have that in the mind of dating because it's pointed that you don't want to have your children to have, the genotype. And it's also just to know who your partner is, and how he gonna take care of you during that time when you have a pain crisis or just anything that you're dealing with. So that's something that I am currently going through right now, and that's something that should be talked about as well. Because I tell my friends that they don't think about that. So even if you have sickle cell or not, it's still important to know what your genotype is and what your partner genotype is. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's not even something I would have thought of. I think that's really interesting, and that is like something not just for people with sickle cell to think about. Like anyone really should be thinking about that anytime they're with a partner, a really serious partner, because like, they could have the trait.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, that's like a really good thing. I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a pretty quick
Awesome.
interview, but I really am grateful that we could get your perspective.
Yes.
Before you go, just because I didn't have you do it at the beginning, I'll like put it at the beginning at the end. Can you just introduce yourself, like your name and just like anything you'd want anybody to know about you and your experiences or anything like that?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Nneka Okeke, and yes, I do have sickle cell, but that doesn't stop me from just going after everything that I love and want to accomplish in this life. And right now, I am working at Washington University at St. Louis, doing global health research with HPV and sickle cancer. So my long-term goal is to work something with sickle cell and help those communities and especially abroad in Nigeria for those who have sickle cell. So I am really interested in that in the future.
Thank you. And then my name again is Giselle Lee. I'm a junior at University High School, and I am one of the co-founders of the Caring Cells Project. Unfortunately, Josh and Justine could not be on the call today, but I am very grateful to have some of your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Yes, it was. I like hearing the perspectives. I find it interesting. That's why we do all this stuff. So I am just glad that you could come on here today and kind of talk with us a little bit.